If I could briefly clarify, more than a decade ago, probably for the course of 2 or 3 years, I served on an advisory board that helped this, at the time, was supposed to be a nonprofit workers' rights organization get set up and get started.
Did you know they were a communist organization?
Senator, at that time, they did not express these kinds of views. It was an organization.
So this is new. This wasn't the case then.
Yes, and I have not been affiliated with them in more than a decade.
You're aware that your current profile that you have up, your legal bio, says you are right now an advisor to them.
I apologize for any confusion about that.
So your testimony under oath, and that's all right, the facts will come out, but your testimony, I want to make it explicit. Your testimony under oath is that you have done absolutely nothing and had zero contact with them.
Welcome back to Congress Lens. I'm Audrey, and if you just watched that clip, you're probably feeling exactly what I felt: absolute disbelief. What we just saw is one of the clearest examples of why these confirmation hearings matter and why Senator Ted Cruz's line of questioning isn't just political theater, it's a public service. The Biden administration is trying to slip through judicial nominees with records that should disqualify them, and if it weren't for senators like Cruz doing the deep dive, the public would never know. Judge Lopez's sentencing record is a slap in the face to victims, but Ms. Campbell's evasions about her radical affiliations? That's a 5-alarm fire for our judiciary. In this video, I'm breaking down why Cruz absolutely nailed this hearing and why every American should be concerned about activists becoming judges. Stick around for the full reaction.
Judge Lopez, I'm going to quickly note there's a reason the Democrats have scheduled you on this panel, because you have a long pattern of sentencing criminal defendants to egregiously light sentences, including one child molester who molested a 4-year-old and 9-year-old, and you sentenced him to only 6 years in prison, including, as we heard before, one woman who was responsible for killing her 1-year-old son, who was coated in fentanyl. His pajamas were coated in fentanyl. His sheets were coated in fentanyl. You could have sentenced her to 30 years. You sentenced her to only 4 years. It's an egregious pattern, but the reason you're put on this panel is the Democrats know that most Republicans will not have time to question you about that terrible record, because your colleague on this panel, her record is even worse. Ms. Campbell, I will say I have seen some astonishing nominees from this administration, but I have to admit your record takes the cake. A judge should not be a political activist. Your record demonstrates to me a long history of being a political activist, but not just an activist who affiliates with extreme and radical organizations. Now, when Senator Grassley asked you about the Workers' Dignity Organization, you gave, I think, deliberately misleading answer. You said you did not represent them, and that convinced Senator Grassley not to continue on that line of questioning. You have been a legal advisor to that organization since 2013. That is what you have publicly printed on your AVO biography. It is what has been described in the Tennessee Bar Association when you were nominated. It explicitly says she served as a legal advisor for local workers' rights nonprofit Workers' Dignity. Now, why is it you're distancing yourself from them? The reason is because they are utterly radical. If you look at this group that you've served as the legal advisor for over a decade, this is an openly Marxist organization. This is a communist organization. Now, those words are not said lightly. According to their own characterization of their views, this group says there's no election outcome that improves conditions for workers. The laws of this country have never worked for our people, and now that the system is crumbling, we will continue to stand in community and solidarity with each other. The only way we win in a world we deserve is by building a multiracial working class revolution that can push out white nationalism, violent state racism, and the capitalist class that is desperately clutching to hold control and profits as the people rise up. Why have you spent a decade as a legal advisor to an openly communist and Marxist organization? I don't think your microphone's on.
I apologize, Senator. If I could briefly clarify, more than a decade ago, probably for the course of 2 or 3 years, I served on an advisory board that helped this, at the time was supposed to be a nonprofit workers' rights organization get set up and get started.
Did you know they were a communist organization?
Senator, at that time, they did not express these kinds of views. It was an organization.
So this is new. This wasn't the case then.
Yes, and I have not been affiliated with them in more than a decade.
You're
in
aware
any
that
way.
your current profile that you have up, your legal bio, says you are right now an advisor to them.
I apologize for any confusion about that. As
So
I
your
said,
testimony under oath, and that's all right, the facts will come out, but your testimony, I want to make it explicit. Your testimony under oath is that you have done absolutely nothing and had zero contact with them for how long?
I have not served on their advisory board for
You've done absolutely nothing and had zero contact with them for how long? Please answer the question.
many, many years.
How many?
I don't know, sitting here today. It's been many
Okay,
years.
if you look at other statements from this organization, because they are radicals. They are radicals. If you look also, this is the same group in 2020. They called for abolishing ICE, abolishing prisons and detention centers, and abolishing the police. Why did you volunteer for a communist organization that calls for abolishing ICE and abolishing the police?
Senator, I have never seen these comments before.
You didn't know who you were volunteering for?
I was not a volunteer for them at that
You were a legal advisor. Were you paid?
No, I was
Then
not.
you were a volunteer. If you volunteered to be a legal advisor, you were a volunteer. Why did you volunteer? Do you support abolishing ICE?
Senator, at this time, I
Do you
had.
support abolishing ICE?
I do not, Senator.
Well, it's amazing because a minute ago you also told Senator Graham that the Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition that has a manifesto calling for abolishing ICE, you said you had nothing to do with it, which is fairly astonishing because on page 3 of their manifesto, they thank you by name for what they say. We would like to thank the following individuals and organizations for their thoughtful feedback and input. This platform would not have been possible without their expertise. Are they lying?
Senator, I'm not familiar with that manifesto.
Are they lying? Did you provide any assistance? Did you give feedback and input, which is what they say on the cover page?
Senator, I didn't even know that existed, and so no, I did not provide input on it.
And why, when Senator Graham asked why you gave money to this radical candidate who has said 52 senators are Jim Crow senators and said multiple of us are siding with the devil, you laughed and thought that was funny. But Senator Graham asked you a question. Look, that candidate was as radical as I've ever seen. And when Senator Graham asked why you gave money to that candidate, you just smiled and didn't answer. So why did you give money to a radical candidate who believes multiple members of the Senate are siding with the devil?
Senator,
Actually, Senator Whitehouse, you weren't here before, but there was an exchange with the chairman where Senator Kennedy asked for longer periods because you have 2 circuit justices, and the chairman said he was going to give additional time. So the comment, they want to be gavelled, it's part of the show, is not accurate, and Senator Welch said he was going to give additional time. In fact, he said at the beginning he was going to give 6 minutes. So my question, you did not answer Senator Graham.
Mr. Chairman, how much time has expired? How much time has expired? I just want to clarify. I just walked in.
Why did you give money?
6 minutes? Because it seems like more than 6 has passed.
Why did you give money to this radical? Put up the devil one too. Why did you give money to this radical candidate? $1,500, a lot of money. That's a question.
Senator, again, I'm not familiar with these comments. I
Why
do not
did you
support
give money
them.
to this radical candidate? What? Could you let her answer the question, please?
I'm not familiar with these comments, and
Why did you give money to her? That's the question. You're not going to answer? You're refusing to answer why you gave money to her.
Senator, I'm not familiar with these
That's
comments.
not an answer. My answer is, why did you? What is the affirmative reason? You gave $1,500. There was something you saw in her that you said, this needs $1,500. Why? Please answer that
Senator's
question.
time has expired.
Would you please ask the witness to answer the question? She's refusing to answer it. It's indefensible, but answer. Was there any reason? Or do you just give $1,500 to anyone?
Senator, your time has expired.
I would like her to answer the question. And you said she could answer the question. She has refused to do so multiple times. Please answer the question, Ms. Campbell.
She answered the question.
No, she did not. She said she didn't know those comments. That's not why she gave the money.
Senator.
Can I ask you why she gave the money?
No.
You don't know because she hasn't answered.
Senator's
Are you
time-
going to answer, Ms.
the
Campbell, or does
senator's
this
time
committee
has
not deserve to
expired.
know why you gave money to
The
a
senator-
radical who says we are aligned with
Mr. Chairman, I have a lot of other senators have busy days. Can
Yeah.
we get on with the next
So
person?
you don't want an answer to the question either, Senator Booker?
I just
Are
want
you
to say
able
for
to
the
answer the
record,
question, Ms. Campbell, or do you believe this committee doesn't deserve an answer to that question?
Mr. Chairman,
Who has,
So
who
you're
has,
silent.
who has the
You're
floor?
just refusing to answer.
who's next?
The senator's time has expired. If the senator doesn't like the answer, he can
It's
take
not
it
an
into
answer. She
account.
sat there silently and has not spoken. That is, by definition, not an
Senator
answer.
from
Let's start with the structure of this hearing, because it's brilliant. Senator Cruz immediately disarms the Democrats' strategy. He calls out that they've scheduled Judge Lopez on a panel with someone they think has an even worse record, betting that Republicans won't have time to question both. Cruz highlights Lopez's record: 6 years for a child molester, 4 years for a mother whose negligence killed her 1-year-old with fentanyl. He puts it on the record, and it's devastating. But he uses it as a prelude to the main event, Katherine Campbell. This is where the hearing goes from concerning to shocking. Cruz doesn't just call Campbell an activist, he brings the receipts. He cites her own AVU biography and the Tennessee Bar Association, proving she served as a legal advisor for workers' dignity. Then, he reads directly from the organization's own materials, calling for a multiracial working-class revolution to push out the capitalist class. That's not just progressive activism, that is, as Cruz stated, openly Marxist and revolutionary rhetoric. Campbell's defense is utterly weak. She claims this was more than a decade ago, for 2 or 3 years, and that they did not express these kinds of views. But Cruz corners her. Her own current bio says she's an advisor right now. Her testimony, that she's had 0 contact for many years, directly conflicts with her public professional profile. Someone is not being truthful here. Then Cruz masterfully connects the dots. He shows that this radicalism isn't an isolated incident. He confronts Campbell about the Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition, which thanks her by name in its manifesto calling to abolish ICE. Her response? I'm not familiar with that manifesto. How can you be thanked by name for your thoughtful feedback on a platform and be completely unfamiliar with it? It doesn't add up. The climax is the campaign donation. Cruz asks why she gave $1,500 to a radical candidate who said senators were siding with the devil. Campbell's repeated answer, "I'm not familiar with these comments," is a dodge, not an answer. Cruz is asking for the affirmative reason for the donation. What policy or principle did she support? Her refusal to give one is telling. It suggests there is no mainstream, defensible reason. It suggests she supported the candidate because of their radical stance, not in spite of it. What we are witnessing is a nominee who has spent her career in the orbit of organizations that seek to dismantle the very system she now seeks to join as a judge. Senator Cruz is performing a vital duty, exposing that an individual's background and associations matter. A judge must have faith in and uphold the system, the police, the prisons, the borders, the rule of law. How can you do that if you've advised groups that want to abolish them? The most frustrating moment is when the chairman, Senator Durbin, allows Campbell to not answer. Cruz is right to be outraged. This committee and the public absolutely deserve to know. Cruz's persistence is what holds power to account. In my opinion, this wasn't a gotcha moment. This was a necessary excavation of a nominee's ideological foundation. Senator Ted Cruz demonstrated exactly what rigorous oversight looks like. He was prepared, precise, and persistent. He is fighting to keep radical, activist ideology off the federal bench, and everyone who values an impartial judiciary should be grateful he is. What do you think? Did Senator Cruz expose a legitimate threat, or was this political grandstanding? Let me know your take in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more unfiltered analysis from Congress Lens.